Hola, bienvenidos. I am so excited to be here today. Mi querida gente, tengo alguien, I have somebody here today that I had the pleasure to meet last year when a group of us Latinos here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania were like, oh, we don't know him as many. We need a group for us. So I had the great pleasure of meeting Chef Eli. Hola, Chef Eli, ¿cómo estás?
Hello.
Sí, estoy muy contenta de estar contigo. I'm so happy to be here. So I go back and forth from Spanish, Chef Eli, así que si tú puedes también, no te preocupes. And so I really wanted to bring him on. The fact that we don't really have a lot of guys on this podcast, so just so you know, so you're one of the few, but
Uh, thank
also,
you.
yeah, but also because my beautiful people who are listening, Chef Eli has such a way, I think, with people, with food, with his culture. You'll get to see it in this interview. But before we get into it, I want to read the bio because I always want you all to know what people are about. So Chef Ela is a Puerto Rican native, a personal chef, Central PA's premier traveling chef, and food security advocate. With more than 17 years of experience in the culinary world, he operates KokiLatino Cuisine, traveling the state cooking for clients in the comfort of their home or at the site of the event. In his time off from the business, he works with local nonprofits, farms, and helps other community organizations to address food security, to provide chef and cooking services and cooking classes for underprivileged communities, families, seniors, and medical organizations, targeting the community's food knowledge through skill development, time management, healthy cooking, and how to make a healthy meal on a budget. So this is pretty amazing. So, Chefi, like, quiero saber, when did you grow up in the US or creciste in Puerto Rico and then you came here? Like, what was your
Yeah,
journey?
I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, specifically in Caguas, Puerto Rico, which is like a small town in the center of the island, center east, I think.
Mhm.
And well, I was born kind of like grew up between like a couple different towns because we move a lot. And I started my career in the culinary industry in a sizzler in Caguas there. I was right out of high school, just going through a program. And then after I finished the program, I actually started working before the program even finished, because I've been very driven all my life, but I wasn't even sure what I was gonna study until I got to like the classroom. Because it
Oh
was
my
like you
God,
have
wow.
like two options. I wanted to do like computer or game development or something like that, and it wasn't available at the time that I was applying for my like stuff like scholarships and stuff like that. So it was like, okay, we have this and culinary. It's like, okay, I'll just go to culinary. I like to eat, so I probably, you know, it's gonna be good learning how to cook. So I went from there and I just fall in love with the profession. It was like, this is, and it wasn't about like the glamorous, side of, oh, celebrity chef. It was more about like the ethic and the kind of like the nitty gritty, and how much different is from cooking in the house, and the way you need to prepare logistic wise, and the grit and the grind, because there's a lot of that in the industry as well.
Yes.
An industry that doesn't treat you really well when you're like fresh out of whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was kind of like, I like this. Like, this might me make kind of like a better person, I guess. And then I just fell in love with everything.
I love that. So como la disciplina, right? How hard it was. It was like it's gonna make me a better person. So what did you when you were como un jovencito, when you were young, like what did you fall in love with as you were doing it? Like, was it the reaction of the people? Was it you got to feed people? Was it creating something new? Was it all of that?
That is kind of, I always been creative. as a child, I enjoy things like video games, and I'm still game to this day. So I love like stuff like anime and like creative stuff like art. I like art, and that's one of the parts. But because cooking is like an art and a science, there's art and science and a lot of like everything together in there. So it's like alchemy. Cooking is like alchemy, basically. Like you take like a bunch of ingredients that you probably are sometimes you are not even familiar with, and you make a soup. Like I've seen this meme online. It was like making a soup with a lot of like it's like alchemy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You put a lot of stuff together and you make like a potion to nurture people. Like it's a silly way to put it, but I think it goes with the theme of you know
Yes.
your
It must,
show.
yeah, it's
It's
magic.
like alchemy. Like, and other thing that I'm very passionate about is the reaction of the people when they taste the food and they say, "Oh my God, this is the best food I ever had in my life." And it was like that's a little bit of a stretch, but I'll take it because it makes me feel really good.
I love that. And actually, I loved your paella that you made for the big event. I love that you brought it, you did it on site. I loved I loved everything that you've made that I've had the pleasure of tasting, whether it was at Cultura and Co on Third in the Berg, which is every third Friday. There's events all over Harrisburg in Pennsylvania, where we are right now. I love everything that I've ever like. I love how you get even the little appetizers, the way you prepare them.
Yep.
There's such an art to it, and for you, it's interesting because you're not just a chef and creating and an alchemist creating food to feed people. You're also interested in teaching people. So how did that come about?
It was basically I met with my nutritionist, which is Dr. Chelsea Jones from Hamilton Health. She was my actual nutritionist. Like, I mean, not even a nutritionist, a dietitian. That's what she is. Like, she's an expert on like chronic diseases and stuff like that. And I needed to go through a program because I do have some little health things, and be for me being a little bit overweight, so you always need to somebody to help you with all of that.
Yes.
So we met in it was like a normal like medical consult, but it became like a whole conversation, and we kind of like because I was with my business cards. It was like, look, if you know about somebody that wants like cooking classes, and she was like running a program already, and she was like, huh? So you can do that? Is yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll do it. Whatever, I'll do it for the community. Like you don't even have to pay me for it. Like just send me, help me out with everything, setting it up, and I'll be there and I teach the class, and that's how it started. And it took like maybe like a year or so, like almost like a year and a half before we reconnected and actually did the class.
Wow.
And when I started doing that, obviously it's for the community. Like I had so much fun doing it, and she was like, I was very self conscious because first English is not my first language. I will not get rid of my accent for the life of me. And
I
people
love
sometimes
it.
have like trouble understanding, and it was kind of like a public speaking thing too, and I was terrified of that. But like years ago I saw like a TED talk, and that was one of my goals to actually do public speaking, and it took years before it came about. But we just I teach the class, and I wasn't even like it was something very like a semi homemade ramen, and
Yeah.
we end up doing that class for like 3 or 4 different like people.
Oh my God, I
And
love
like
that.
and I was so like like imposter syndrome thing, like, oh, like I was like, did I do well? Like, oh, you did magnificent, excellent. It was like, you will come back this date. I was like, okay. And then we did like 2 dates of the class in like Hamilton Health, and she asked me like, oh, we have a program like we're partnering up with like Dolphin Country Library, and we're doing like a little tour of cooking classes, and we end up doing like one on West Shore, one on East Shore, one in there's a es- Episcopal school in the center of Harrisburg. We end
Mhm.
up doing one in there, so and he started growing up from there.
Oh, amazing, amazing. I love that you're doing that. And you know what you said, that it took almost a year for you to connect. How important is perseverance as a business owner? Because I know that it's, very it's
It's everything because sometimes you meet people, and that happens with me a lot of times, and you
yeah,
think things are gonna start like right away, like it's gonna be like we hit it off, and tomorrow we'll we're doing the thing, and most of the time it's not like that.
right.
Like people's life are packed with stuff. Like everybody's schedule is over like the top of, and if you have kids, you gotta sometimes work your schedule around your kids. So it's a whole deal. And sometimes you're like, kind of like disappointing, and then you reconnect, and then things happen. And I mean, I did like stuff for free, even
Right.
just to get to get my name out there. And then a year after, they contact me for something like super big, or something that I'm gonna be, I get to showcase most of my things. And sometimes it costs you obviously resources, it costs you money, it costs you time. But my I mean, what I'm getting to is every investment that you make on people is gonna pay you back.
Yes.
And probably, and not of the it's not all the time financial, but sometimes it's with connections, or sometimes it's with opportunities. So it's good to invest in relationship with people. And we used to say in Puerto Rico, I'm gonna say it in Spanish because
Sí, dilo, dilo.
uh, tienes que dar de lara para comer de la pechuga. I don't know if you like
Sí,
you
sí, que
to get kind of like help people out first, and then you probably gonna end up doing stuff, and people are gonna, because they will trust you, and they will hire you, or like help you out achieve some other goals that you have.
I totally agree with you. And like, even though I've been doing what I do like for a long, long time, and then on top of it, full time online 13 years, I will still do little like free things here and there, because even the Latino improv group, right?
Mhm.
I'll do things just because I love them, just because it's important. And just because you don't know the impact of what you're doing, you have to trust that que va a fluir, like it's going to have an impact. You throw a little stone in the water, and there's a little, you see that in the water, it's going to flow out, and someone or something, some opportunity is going to come to you. So I believe that. And I have seen business owners who are like, that's it, nothing free, and they close off too soon, right? Like too soon. Like they're not even known yet. They're out there 1 year and they're like, nada más, nunca más. And I'm not saying you should do everything free, but sometimes you really have to step out and show your value and show your work and demonstrate for people to like you, trust you, know you, like you were saying. I also, and I was thinking of you, like I met you almost 8 months ago. And I think that asked you to be on the podcast even in October, November after we finished. And here we are, it's March and we're doing it
Yeah.
now. Like we have to have patience. And I'm so glad you're here.
Life
Um,
be lifing, like they say.
life is lifing. Estamos ocupadísimos. Entonces, for you, why, Latino food? I mean, and you're Latino, I know, but I know you cook everything probably, but why KokiLatino, right?
uh,
Cuisine.
I don't know if you are familiar with the coqui from
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, which is like an endemic frog that we have, that it doesn't, survive in any environment. I think, but in Puerto Rico, I hear like maybe myths about like Hawaii or stuff like that, but I'm not sure about it, and
Mhm.
I haven't researched it either. But it's like an endemic frog of Puerto Rico, and the way I spell it is a typo, because a couple of businesses that has like coqui something in there. So the way it's spelled correctly in Spanish, which is like COQUI.
Sí.
So what I did was kind of like a typo there in Latin cuisine because it doesn't pigeonhole me because Latin food is so broad, and you
It
can even bring influences from Spain and stuff like that. Even though like Spain is not technically Latino, but you can infuse so and people think like Latin food is Spanish food, but that's
right.
topic for another day. Like,
Yeah, that's a topic for another
if
day.
I go with, let's say, cocky let's say cocky Puerto Rican food,
Right.
that's in my perspective that kind of like
Mhm.
pigeonhole me a little bit, but I want to explore every kind of Latino cuisine.
I
I
love that.
do. I'll do Peruvian food. I fusion a lot of them too. But people don't understand that a lot of like food is mixed with a lot of other like Puerto Rican food is African, Spanish, and a little bit of indigenous food.
Yeah.
Like let's say the Caribbean, like anguilla it leans more to like African food and curries, and because obviously all because of colonization. So like it's very broad. Like Peruvian food is there's a lot of influence of the Nikkei cuisine, which is like the Peruvian meets Japanese,
Okay.
because of there was a big move from Japanese people to Peru and back in the day, and they are all like mixed, and they call it Nikkei, which is like that kind of like the Peruvian food, like arroz chaufa and all that stuff.
Sí,
That's
sí. Oh my God.
So
Rocha.
there's 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 a lot of like influences of different, like we have Arab food in Puerto Rico, a lot of influence around Arab food because there was a migration, you know what I mean? So there's a lot
Abs-
of like stuff to explore.
Absolutely. Y además, like, the Ottoman Empire took over Spain, and Spain then took over Latin America.
Yep.
So we're
Well,
muy
and
mezcladitos.
to be truthful, like when they brought, like they probably didn't brought the best people over here when they crossed, like the colonizers, they didn't brought like the best people in the tripulation, and that's historically accurate.
Yeah.
So they have like war prisoners and stuff like that on there in the ship with them. So you know what I mean? Like there's gotta be like a lot of like even like Arab influence and stuff, because with a country like having conflict with another, let's say, race, with, I know it's not the
Yeah.
correct term, but with another ethnicity,
Yeah.
there's gonna be stuff that's gonna cross over, and that happens with
Absolutely.
food as well.
Absolutely. I love that you brought that up. So this is a question that I ask all my people. The question is, voy a decirlo en español y en inglés. ¿Qué patrón ancestral, qué patrón ancestral tuviste que sanar or get through in order to be who you are? What ancestral pattern did you have to heal or just push through to be who you are?
I think I'm still kind of like just convincing yourself that you're enough is difficult, because you see people more successful with more money, but their impact over intent. That's like you can intend to do. Oh, I'm gonna finish world hunger, but that is not realistic for me to say. You know what I mean? Like, so I think, and in Latino families, and we talk about it in, I think it was the Meet the Team,
Yeah.
that we're creatives and people that want like art art tech alternative kind of like ways to make money besides manual work. We're kind of like shunned,
Yeah.
like being a creative or being, I kind of like, I'm a creative too, even though I do a lot of stuff with my hands, but
Well, that
like
is creative. That is creative. Working with your hands is
uh
creative.
but like if you're not like a doctor or a lawyer or like something very set in stone, like a mechanic or something, people kind of like shun you a lot of the times, and they think that's not a real job.
Right.
And other thing that I experienced after I started my business is like a lot of the, I mean, it breaks my heart to say it, but a lot of your family is not going to support your business.
Right.
And I mean, that's my experience. Probably is not everybody's experience, but it's not that they don't like what I do. It's like they'd rather me have like a regular job. You know what I mean?
Course. Of course.
Why would
You
you be grinding outside, like even when you're like investing money and stuff? It was like, why you just not get like a job in a kitchen? And that's
see.
like, yeah, I can do that, but my impact will be super minimized because I don't have time. I don't have time. If I work 60 hours in a kitchen, I cannot take care of my kids. That's one thing that I love to be present for, like my kids' events, having time on the weekends to take them somewhere, or to just spend like sit down with them and spend time with them. Another thing is, uh, I will not have time to do community work. You know what I mean? Because I can't move my schedule. Like your schedule is set in stone, and in most of the kitchens, you don't even have time to go and just. I mean, it's difficult to even request a day off.
Absolutely.
Oh, like
Absolutely.
when you're working, like normally. And sometimes in the kitchens, most of the time, you don't even know exactly what time you're getting off.
Right.
Like they
Exactly.
tell you, let's say 8 to 4, and then something happened. Like it happened to me many times. Like even around here in Harrisburg, like that I stayed, like I needed to stay till like 8 p.m. or something, like from like 5 a.m. in the morning. So,
Yeah.
and they treat me well, and they give me like a gift cards and stuff like that, which is I appreciate. Even with all the extra hours, but it's like you don't have like, if I need to be present for an event or something, I need to have like a set hour, and in the kitchen that doesn't happen most of the time.
Absolutely. No, y me encantó, what you just said is that the ancestral pattern that you're still dealing with, que tradicionalmente, traditionally, Latino families want us to pursue the well-established careers, right? And so when you're a creative entrepreneur doing what I do, what you do, what a lot of our friends here do, it's not as supported because it's not a defined path. We are defining it as we do it. But I also think, like you said, they're like, oh, why don't you get a 9 to 5 or 8 to 5? It's also, and I know some people who are listening are not going to like this, but when you build a successful business that supports you, you are also maybe working more hours, just different hours. Like
Yeah.
sometimes prepare last night I was preparing all of my YouTube videos and both of my podcasts while I was watching a show. I was preparing them. I made the cover, so it's going to go out on Tuesday. Our friend Leslie in Espanol. I have somebody else coming out. So at 11:30 at night, I'm making the cover for my thing. But for me, that's not a big trauma. Like I'm not like I'm working. I don't care. I'm happy with what I'm doing. And I think that's what you're talking about too.
It's like
You can
I have an example of that
mhm,
last couple of days, because we all hate it. We're at tax time, and I was
yes,
finishing my books because I take care of my daughter like during the day until 5.
yeah,
Then obviously dinner with the family, maybe a little time off, and then at 10 p.m. I sit down to do my kind of like finish my books, which they were like behind, like months behind,
right, right.
and just sit down, and just 2 days I pull up like from 10 p.m. through like 1:30 in the morning just doing books.
Yeah,
And like sometimes my wife is like, "Are you coming to bed?" Yeah, let me finish, like, because I need this for the tax time. We're right, like we're behind already. It was like I'm gonna make this sacrifice because another thing that another thought that I shared not long ago was, a lot of people say, "Oh, doing your business is a lot of work, blah blah blah." but I've done 17 hours for another person in a company. Why would not do it for my company and for my future and for my impact in the community?
Yes.
Like for me, this is not like it's work, but it's not work. You know what I mean? Like I've
Exactly.
done
Me too.
15 hours for a company
Me too.
that
Me too.
paid
Yes.
me peanuts. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
why
I've worked
would
really
not
long
do it for
hours in New
another
York.
company?
Yeah, in New York, they keep you very long hours when you're working in corporate and other things. So I've worked from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, like seriously. Um, and where they were mad if I left, like an office job, you know? So why wouldn't I do that for my own?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, so I love that you pointed that out. And I think, it takes a lot of grit and it takes a lot of passion. It's not like what they show online on Instagram where you have these cute little pictures of our food or our crystals or whatever. It takes a lot of work but it also, I know I'm so proud of my work. I know you are too, right?
Yeah.
Like the impact, the impact you've had on people, the impact I've had on people. Like to me, nothing beats it. I always say, que no hay trabajo que va a usar todo de mí. There's no job that really would use all of the talents that I have the way my business does, right? Like the business pulls out your marketing, pulls out public speaking, pulls out teaching. So, my other question for you is what ancestral gifts or ancestral poderes or powers are you leaning into? Like one of them is the one you had to break from. What are you leaning into? I mean, it feels like culture, the power of your culture, but I want to give you space to share, like, ¿qué don ancestral de tu familia te ha ayudado, ¿no? A hacer un éxito, para perseguir? What gift of your ancestors has helped you move forward?
I think in Puerto Rico we are very known for being warm and caring people, and that definitely helps me like enjoy taking care of people and
Mm,
taking care of people service wise, food wise, even to let them know that I care and that I mean when I do community work is still taking care of people. When I do fancy 5-star dinners, still I'm taking care of people. So I think, and I had that from my grandmother, from my aunts, which they gave me, like they basically feed me when I was like in my teens, because we my dad had like an addiction problem and we didn't have even food in the house sometimes, so my aunts always take care of me. And I think cooking for people, taking care of people, I think that's the greatest gift, like ancestral gift, like like that my grandma and my aunts and gave me, and my mother-in-law too.
mm,
That they always taking care of people,
I
even
love
they. And I know it's not recommended, but a lot of them took care of people before they took care of them.
themselves. Yeah.
Even my wife, like that patterns continues through my wife's as well. That sometimes she takes care of people before herself. And I know it's not recommended, but it's they have such a I don't know, they have so much light in them that they rather take care of people before taking care of themselves. And I
I
think
have
that
I
that's
have that too in my family, pero también at some point el equilibrio. We have to balance it out
yeah.
so we don't burn out. But
Yeah,
that's
and it comes to like people like that. I'm I learned that from them, but I'm not completely like that. You know what I mean? Like I know what I want, and if I need to say no, I will say no. You know what I mean? Like it's not being selfish. It's just you need to have boundaries at some point, and if you want to help others, you need to take care of you as well. So it needs to be balanced for sure.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
they have so much like like light in them, like I said, and love, and that they rather take care of every, and that chips away on you too.
Yeah.
Like and I know people like that, like even everybody that I described, my grandma and my aunts, and that chip away on them too. So
Yeah.
but that my line of work is great. because I actually enjoy taking care of people.
Yeah, I love that so much. Chef Eli, before we close, what advice would you give a young creative Latino entrepreneur, or not even young, just a creative Latino entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur who's listening to us? What advice would you give them from your heart, from de tu corazón?
I mean, an advice that I see to like a lot of line is you need to fail and fail hard. That happened to me because failing, you need to learn how to kind of failing is like learning the ropes. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of stuff. Not everybody's gonna, it's gonna be your, let's say, not everybody's your client. That's a mistake that I see a lot in new businesses. That I ask you where's your target audience, and they say everybody, and it's not real, and it's not even sustainable. Like big brands can do that because they have the resources. And another thing, invest in yourself. And what I mean by that is read, like buy books, read books, or I mean, you can borrow them from the library too if you don't want to
Mhm.
invest in sometimes, stuff like courses and stuff like that. A lot of the times they are worth it. Not everybody, obviously, because there's so much of that online that is, just because I've been sucked into that too. Like the like be positive but be realistic too. Like don't be like everything's gonna be okay, and like be positive. Like I try to be positive most of the time, but you need to take calculated risk. If you don't have the $600 to invest in whatever your business needs, there's always a cheaper way to do it. And another thing is everything. I mean, from the entrepreneur perspective, like try stuff cheaply. That's a thing that I learned from. There's a book that is called The Lean Startup, and it's
Mhm.
about trying business ideas on the cheap side,
Yeah,
and that way you can validate if the market is really there for that.
I love that.
That I implemented a lot with a lot of the stuff that I do. I try it in a small crowd, which is not, and it goes. There's a lot of strategy behind it, even though people say I'm just cooking and coming up with menus, and a lot of the stuff that I do, I have intent behind it.
I love that so, so much. Chef Eli, where can people find you on Instagram and
Yeah, my
Facebook?
Instagram, my business Instagram is at KokiLatino Cuisine. And my TikTok is the same at KokiLatino Cuisine. You can find me on Google at KokiLatino Cuisine as well. Uh, I think, and I don't know, my email is at KokiLatinoCuisine at Gmail. So everything is KokiLatino Cuisine.
I love it. I love it. Gracias, Chef Eli, por estar con nosotros. Thank you. You've heard it from him. He has come here from Puerto Rico, vino, creó un negocio. He's doing his business. And I think you gave us really, really good advice, right? Everything that you said is so on point. And for any of us who are listening, who do have parents who don't understand, or family, or maybe even partners, that we are creative entrepreneurs, we're sending you so much love. We are sharing the stories and we're supporting you because it's worth it. If you have a dream, it's important to test it out cheaply. Now, thank you, Chef Eli. Gracias. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.